These two astronauts were on a spacewalk performing maintenance. Suddenly, the ground control center ordered them to abort immediately. The next second, countless pieces of space debris hurtled toward them. The fragments struck the spacecraft like cannon shells. Ryan was flung away by the robotic arm. Extreme fear made her struggle desperately. It took her a few minutes to calm down, but due to her rapid breathing, her oxygen supply was nearly depleted. She could only shake the light in her hand repeatedly, hoping for rescue. Fortunately, Captain Matt found her by following the light. Matt tied himself and Ryan together with a tether. Then, using a small thruster, he guided them back to the spacecraft. But to their horror, they found that the spacecraft had been completely destroyed. This meant they were doomed to die in space. Just then, Matt noticed an international space station not far away. If they could reach it, they might survive. He immediately set course for the space station with Ryan. Before long, they saw the space station, but the station is tangled up in the parachutes. But they were moving too fast, they crashed directly into the station. The tether connecting them was severed by a solar panel. Luckily, Ryan managed to hook her foot onto a parachute cord, but unfortunately, Matt was drifting toward deep space. Ryan immediately grabbed Matt's tether, but just as she tried to pull him back, the cord around her foot began to slip. Matt knew that if this continued they would both die, so he made a decision, letting himself drift away into space. Ryan was overwhelmed with despair. At that moment, her alarm signaled that her oxygen was critically low. She had no choice but to enter the space station first. After removing her spacesuit, she forced herself to stay calm. Then, Ryan attempted to contact ground control, but there was no response. And soon, the space debris would complete another orbit around Earth, crashing into her again. She had to launch the escape pod immediately, but she had forgotten the parachute was still attached to the station. The moment she launched, the escape pod was yanked back. Ryan had to go outside once again to detach the parachute. Just then, the space debris returned. The station was shattered into pieces. Ryan rushed back to the escape pod. She slowly adjusted her trajectory, aiming for a distant light. It was the Chinese space station. That was her only hope for survival. But just as she initiated the launch, she was shocked to discover the escape pod had no fuel left. She vented her despair in frustration. Ryan tried once more to contact ground control, but still, there was no response. The freezing cold caused ice to form on the glass. Desperate, Ryan lowered her oxygen levels. Just as she was about to surrender to death, the escape pod's hatch suddenly opened, and then, Captain Matt burst inside.